Evolutionary.org podcast coming your way. Q&A episode 463. Stevesmi, Rick, Ricky V. Rock. We're going to have 5 great topics. How's it going?
Hey, what's up, Steve? What's up, guys? What's everybody doing out there?
Not much. So the first one we're going to talk about is this guy says his first cycle, 40 years old, 5'9", 185 pounds. He wants to know what we recommend. So Rick, why don't you talk about this one first? Because I think you're about that age. Talk about what would you recommend for this guy for his first cycle at that age?
Good question. I would say single compound. Single compound. Testosterone is always a great option. So episode 278 and episode 284, we do pretty extensive testosterone profiles. Anavar is also a pretty great classic for a cycle. We tackle that subject on episode 288. Also, Dianabol has been a good first cycle for a lot of people. Wouldn't be my first choice for a first cycle, but if you're out there and you can get good Dianabol, why the hell not? 274 episode, that episode, we talk about Dianabol. Also, you can go with single compound when it comes to SARMs. Ostrin, we covered that in episode 338. And Ostrin would be a great first cycle. If you're just cutting, you could literally get away with losing some good body fat, increasing your endurance without fucking with your endocrine system at all. No PCT. You can take a look at Carterin. We discussed that in episode 330. I would say if it's your very, very first cycle, if you're bulking, you'd be well served with anything from Dianabol to testosterone to maybe some Ostrin. It's pretty mild compared to Anavar and stuff, but you know, it's Ostrin. You could put on some pounders with Anavar too. Why not? If you're looking at cut, definitely Anavar, GW. Those are your real good kind of aesthetically pleasing effects results. But yeah, I think first cycle for most guys, look, I think it's my opinion, you should go single compound. And my first cycle, I didn't go single compound. I had a couple of different drugs in there, but first guy, you're just getting started, you're 40, single compound, see how things work, journal it somewhat, make sure that you start to gain experience and knowledge with how each of these different compounds behave. And that's it. We have quite a bit of episodes where we are discuss steroid use for new guys. For example, steroids for noobs. That was episode 374, where we actually go pretty well into depth into different steroids that can be used by newbies. And I'm sure I spoke about primobolan and testosterone, some of these other ones there, because primobolan is also a newbie steroid. I guess, look, there are many compounds that could be used for you on the first time. I would just suggest if it's your first time, go single compound. Single compound, make sure you take an N2 if it's an oral. Make sure you're taking N2 generate to so you don't get suppressed. Take it during your PCT. My testosterone booster. Take it, please, guys. And that's about it. I think that's what I think. I think single compound, and you could definitely try that. There's a few out there that are really nice, and you could try. Primobolan, we got in that one on episode 292 and episode 378. We discussed primobolan at length. That's a great little first cycle for anyone. 400 milligrams even of primobolan a week, first cycle, along with some N2 and HC generate. Why the fuck not? It's a great little first cycle. So single compound support products, that should be the main focus on your first cycle. And again, we've given different advice out there at times. We've discussed maybe 2 or 3 compounds, and you could do that as well. But I think today, my advice today is I think single compound, first time, 40-year-old, especially you're 40, you might already have some conditions that are beginning to develop. As we get older, conditions begin to develop and worsen, and you want to tread lightly. In your 20s, you might have less conditions and less things that you need to worry about. So maybe those guys tend to do a lot more. But as you get older, got shit to worry about: cholesterol, sugar, hair, all kinds of things you worry about. Start to worry about at 40. Joints, to just single compound it, go slower. I think a 40-year-old guy maybe needs to go slower on the steroids and look out and journal and document and be on the lookout more for side effects than I think a younger man would, because maybe the younger man won't feel the side effects right away. Older guy, it could worsen something that was already on the way. What do you think, Steve?
I don't have a problem with running more than one compound for a first cycle. I think that as long as you know what you're doing and know what the side effects are and know how these compounds should affect your body, you do your research, I don't have an issue if you were to run, an injectable and then use a kickstart oral, or finish your cycle with an oral, something like that. I wouldn't have an issue with it. So my thing is, I think the one thing I don't think is a good idea on a first cycle is something very harsh, whether it be an harsh oral or harsh injectable. So trenbolone, out of the question. Anadrol, out of the question. Halo, out of the question. Superdrol, out of the question. Really, really harsh compounds, because you don't need to deal with that shock on your body, that stress on your body from steroid use. Your first cycle, you want it to be clean. You want it to be enjoyable. You want to be able to run a 10, 12-week cycle, stick to stuff like light doses or moderate doses of testosterone, which, by the way, has a lot of side effects, by the way. Don't think it doesn't. Testosterone has a lot of androgenic and estrogenic side effects. The more you run of it, the more that's going to happen. So let me backtrack on that. Your first cycle, it doesn't matter if your first cycle or 20th cycle, these are very powerful hormones. So don't think, I'm just going to run testosterone 500 milligrams a week and I'm going to be scot-free. I guarantee you more people have run testosterone as a first cycle, 500 milligrams, and ended up with gynecomastia, ended up with estrogen issues, ended up with heart strain, ended up with liver issues, ended up with kidney issues. All right. Ended up shut down hard on testosterone. So any anabolic steroid you run is serious business. So don't think, I'm just going to run one compound and nothing's going to happen to me, because that's not the way this works. So I think you can run one compound, two compounds, no problem, maybe even three compounds. You could do something where you run an injectable for 10 or 12 weeks, and then you kickstart your cycle with an oral, and then you finish it with an oral. I don't got an issue with that. I don't know why some guys on forums and says, you got to run just one compound. It doesn't matter. You're still running anabolic steroids. You're still going to get shut down. You're still going to have side effects. So, I don't have an issue, especially at 40 years old, with someone, running something like EQ for 10 or 12 weeks and kickstart it with some T-bol and then finish it off with Anavar. You're telling me that's going to be more dangerous than running, say, 500 or 750 milligrams a week of testosterone for 12 weeks and getting shut down and having estrogen problems and having androgenic problems? Of course not. So, that's the approach I would take it. Just know what you're doing. It doesn't matter what you run, just know what the hell you're doing. That's the number one thing you should be concerned about.
And I just want to toss something in there real quick, just as a little bit of a counterpoint to what you're saying, Steve. I don't fully disagree with everything you're saying. Just in this context, you're 40, first cycle. One of the things that you and I always tell guys is begin to kind of build a knowledge base and learn and see how your body reacts to these things. What Steve's maybe go-to favorite compounds are definitely not the same as my go-to or favorite compounds, because our bodies have reacted differently to all these compounds. So my advice of going single ingredient is definitely so that you can understand how each of these is affecting your body and begin to learn that. And so that, because if you do more than one compound, it's your first go and you're 40, you might be getting a side effect and not know where it's from and not know what's really doing it. And maybe you drop your whole cycle and quit, and you don't realize that it was maybe that one drug that didn't sit well with you. Is that one drug that made you break out like you're a fucking teenager again at 40. But if you had used this different steroid instead of that other one, you could have gotten the same compound, you could have gotten the same results, the same benefits, without the acne or on your back or your face, or without, so the only way you figure that out is by taking it one at a time and seeing what works what. So that was just a little counterpoint. And look, I think either approach will always work. Either approach can work, but there's a lot to consider when making these decisions, obviously.
All right, so the next one we're going to talk about would be early 30s with Sustanon, be better than testosterone cypionate. So, so Sustanon is 4 different esters. We're talking about Sustanon 250 here. So the way it works, they came up with the idea of putting in 100 milligrams of testosterone decanate, 60 milligrams of testosterone isocapriate, 60 milligrams of testosterone phenylpropionate, and 30 milligrams of testosterone propionate. So you got 1 short ester, 1 intermediate ester, and then 2 longer esters. 1 being extremely long. So 100 milligrams of testosterone decanate, 15-day half-life on that. So just be aware of what you're injecting, guys. This is most of what you're injecting, 160 milligrams out of the 250 is going to be either a 9, most of it is going to be extremely long ester. Most of it is, we're talking 100 out of the 250 is a 15-day half-life. And then another 60 milligrams is a 9-day half-life. So we're talking 160 milligrams out of the 250. That's going to be at least a 9-day half-life. So you have to treat this like a long ester. So, my view on Sustanon, if you're running it less than, you want to run a cycle less than 8 weeks, you got to keep that in mind. Sustanon is going to take time to peak in your system. It's going to take it'll take a couple months really to peak in your system. This is the way these steroids were designed. Sustanon was designed for testosterone replacement therapy. It was designed to inject the whole vial, the whole amp of 250 milligrams every 2 or 3 weeks. You see, that was the idea, to be less injections. And then each ester picks up after one another. So if you're running a steroid cycle of say 10, 12 weeks, Sustanon, it can work. You can inject it once or twice a week and it could work, but it's not the most ideal thing. Plus Sustanon, gives a lot of people post-injection pain. I know it did with me when I ran it. Now, a lot of the underground labs, they take the edge off and it's not as much. So, so at the end of the day, I would just go with either cypionate or E. They're smoother injections. There's more control over the compound. Sustanon, you just have to inject it a long period of time. It's more designed for really long cycles, like 16 or 12, 20-week cycles, or if you're doing long-term TRT. That's the only way I would do Sustanon in this situation.
Yeah, I think that was a great answer, Steve. Look, where are you getting the Sustanon? I mean, if it's some fly-by-night lab or somebody at the gym, labeling stuff in his house, there's chances are that might not even be 4 esters in there. You might just be paying more because you're being told is Sustanon when it's probably just the same enanthate. Who knows, right? So if you're buying underground, maybe just get the cheaper cypionate and shoot it more often and be done with it. Now, if you're in a situation where you are getting TRT and in your location, Sustanon is still used for TRT and you're getting human grade, Organon and things like that, all right, I could see the appeal. But just to get underground stuff, a bottle you're being told has 4 esters in it, more money versus a bottle that you're being told has 1 ester in it. Maybe save some money and go that route. That's just all I had to add to that. What else we got, Steve?
So let's go to the next topic. Next topic is this guy's complaining his red blood cell count, his hematocrit are high. So with red blood cell count for men, you want to get into the range, somewhere between 5 and 6 million red blood cells per microliter of blood. So when you get the blood work done, you'll see the range on your blood work, and you'll want to see that. Now, if you have lower red blood cell count, that's one of the things, one of the most likely things are happening is you're anemic. And, anemia is really something that older people start getting, and it kind of sucks the energy out of you. On the flip side, high red blood cell count sounds like a great thing. And, when you have high red blood cell count, you're going to have more energy, you're going to have more endurance. It's a lot of wonderful things come with it, but one of the things that's not good about it is it's a lot of pressure on your heart. So you got to remember, red blood cells carry oxygen in the blood. So when you have a lot, this is why guys who stay on steroids year round at artificially high levels, or the guys that do TRT, they do TRT, but they're running a artificially high amount of TRT, and they call it TRT. Like they're running 200 or 250 milligrams a week of testosterone for their TRT. Well, your red blood cell counts are going to probably be high. So it's going to be a little pressure on your heart. Now, the other thing is complaining about hematocrit. So hematocrit measures proportion of red blood cells in your blood. And the red blood cells carry oxygen throughout your body. So if you have too little or too many red blood cells, it could be a red flag for certain diseases. In this case, when you're running anabolic steroids, it's pretty common to see your hematocrit levels start working their way up. And again, it's the same thing as a red blood cell count thing. They go kind of hand in hand. What's going to happen is it's going to be put a lot of pressure on your heart. And when you get older, that's why you see a lot of bodybuilders are dropping dead in their late 40s and 50s now. Because not only are they take anabolic steroids, they're also huge, so they're carrying a lot of mass, puts a lot of extra pressure on their heart. Your heart can't take it anymore, and that's it, especially if you're not getting your heart tested, or you're ignoring. This is what happens with bodybuilders. They ignore these red flags. They ignore high blood pressure. They ignore cholesterol levels are off. They ignore high hematocrit. They ignore a high red blood cell count. It's just part of the game. It's normal. Well, it might be normal in bodybuilding to have those numbers off, but it's not healthy. So what can we do to reduce it? The simple answer is come off everything. Come off steroids, come off SARMs, come off supplements, even come off food. Do some fasting, Put a little effort into strengthening your heart. Maybe come off everything if you don't want to, if you still want to take supplements, you're concerned about mass loss, whatever, maybe you need to lose some mass. Maybe that's what it's going to take to give your body a little break. Maybe focus on cardio for a couple months. Take a break from the gym and just do cardio. Just get that heart strengthened. Because what happens is you got that thick blood flowing through your body, and that's not good. That's not good at all. And, obviously there's other issues. Smokers have higher numbers. If you live at high altitudes, that can affect it as well. Not really normal. I'm not saying not really. I'm saying it isn't normal for human beings to live at a high altitude. That's why you see people who live at high altitudes have a high suicide rate. You're robbing your brain of oxygen, but that might be a topic for another day. We're human beings. We evolved from the jungles near the equator. We didn't evolve living up in mountains. So if you live at high altitudes and that's where you want to live the rest of your life, you're probably going to live less longer than someone who lives in a Mediterranean climate at close to sea level. That's human beings. We're not yaks. We're not supposed to. We're not a yeti where we're supposed to live up in the mountains. We evolved to not live in the mountains. So, but again, that's an argument for the day. But at the end of the day, everyone wants something to take. Let's take this. Let's take that. Let's take this. Let's do that. And it's at the end of the day, it's that simple. Just coming off everything. And you could try a strategy of this. You can do a lot of fasting. You also take some N2 Guard. N2 Guard has a lot of ingredients that are going to be beneficial for the heart. N2 Generate is also really, really good for the heart. It's got ingredients to benefit the heart as well. It's got herbals. So if you don't want to come off all your supplements, those are two good supplements that I would recommend. But just keep in mind, a lot of these supplements that you guys are taking, and I know this as I talk to you guys on the forums, I talk to you guys off of the forums, a lot of you are taking these stimulants, and these stimulants, what do? They fuck with your heart. You know, they fuck with your heart more than your heart should be fucked with. So that adds to the situation. So you really have to reduce the amount of stimulants you're getting. And that, yes, that includes coffee. All right. That includes coffee. If you're a coffee addict and you can't go without your coffee, switch to decaf, switch to tea, green tea, do something like that instead. But this is something serious here. This is something serious, guys. What's going to end up happening is you're going to have a heart attack. You're going to have a stroke at a young age, and that's not fair to your family. So don't ignore this. Take this very serious. Anything you want to add, Rick?
Look, hematocrit levels, best way is always, as we know, donating blood. And the best thing I could add to it is I did a little bit of research here. There's a good study from 2016, the effects of repeated whole blood donations on aerobic capacity and hemoglobin mass in moderately trained male subjects, randomized control trial. They could notice a decrease of about 11% for hematocrit and 10% hemoglobin concentrations for guys donating blood by single donation. And so, and there would be a cumulative effect on subsequent donations. So that's the way to do it. I personally just have my blood drawn and I dispose it because I spend a lot. When I'm in South America, I'm able to do that, pay a nurse to come in and do that. Some guys like to donate it. If you want your blood to be used, you might have to fib a little bit because I'm pretty sure the forms ask you if you inject any illegal drugs, and you kind of sort of do. Will it affect someone that is receiving your blood? That's for another podcast. But I just have it drawn. Some guys like to go in and donate, but yeah, when it comes to RBC hematocrit, it's just for us steroid users is the best way.
Yeah, right now there's a big blood shortage right now. So I donated about 3 weeks ago, and I donate every chance I get. And so if you really want to knock that number down, donate plasma when you go in. And as far as I know, well, there's whole blood donations and there's different types of donations. Get the, whole blood, it's really quick. You're in and out like 20 minutes. But if you donate, some of the other types of donations that they offer, those are more universal as far as I'm not a blood donation expert. This is just what the ladies there tell me when I go in, because what happens is if you donate the whole blood, and you're only going to be able to use that blood for someone who needs who's your blood type, right? Or matching blood type. But if you donate the plasma, if you donate that, which takes about like 2-3 times as much time, and it wipes the shit out of me. I've done that before. I was down for like 2 days. Okay. That wipes you out. But that is a universal blood donation. So any person can use that donation. So really, really important. I'm not sure if maybe Rick, you're not aware of this, but as we're doing this podcast, there's someone sitting in a hospital bed waiting, some kid, okay, who's just got in a car accident, okay? He's sitting or she's sitting in the hospital right now, and they're waiting for someone to donate blood to give to that kid. So it's extremely important that you donate blood to help your community. We're supposed to be the alphas of our community. We're supposed to be the big shots of our community, strongest, fastest, toughest, smartest, everything. That's being alpha. That's being alpha. Donate blood. If you're a real alpha, donate blood to give to people who need it. You know what I'm saying? And it's good for you, and it's good karma. Karma will come back in your direction. We're talking about what it takes to be an alpha. That's an alpha. Someone who's well-educated, intelligent. They learn new skills. They learn new things. They help their community. That's an alpha. And that's what we got to do better. That's what we got to do better. Because right now there's a huge blood shortage. When I went and gave blood, I was the only one that morning to give blood. Only one. That's sad. That's sad that people are this selfish. But I guess that's our society. That we're not in our community. We have to be selfless in our community. We have to help the less fortunate in our community who need our blood. And when I was born, I almost needed a blood transfusion. So I take this really personally myself. I almost needed a blood transfusion to save my life, but I didn't. The doctor, was like, no, he's going to be okay. He doesn't need blood donation. So I take it very personally. So definitely go get blood. Great thing to bring up, Rick, for sure, because I did not bring it up myself. That's really, really important. And yes, lie on the form. Don't tell them you inject. Don't tell them, you use needles. Just say no to everything, and you'll be able to donate. And your blood is perfectly fine. If you take steroids or if you don't take steroids, your blood will be perfectly fine.
Yeah, my opinion, in my own personal, I just don't do it because I don't lie on the form because I'm under the structure. It's kind of the rules, and I just don't do it. But I know many guys do it, and I don't look down on guys who do, because I don't really know if it does anything or not. Like I'm not sure that they're hurting anybody by lying about steroid use on that form.
If the blood's no good, they'll throw your blood away.
I don't
hurt anybody.
I don't think I don't look down on anybody that does it. I just myself, just because I don't know, I'm an anxious dude. I just don't like going in there the whole time. I'm like thinking about it. It's like, fuck it. When I'm in South America, I have a nurse come in. She brings the stuff. She draws the blood, gets disposed of, and it's over with. And I don't have to fib about anything. But yeah, I mean, I don't look down on guys that do. It's just my choice.
My body, my choice. All right. So the next one we're going to talk about is, should I do steroid shots in the morning, reduce anxiety while on gear? I'm going to bring this to you in a second. All I got to say on this, guys, is look, at the end of the day, I don't like morning injections. My muscles are very cold. When I inject in the morning, it just seems like my muscles don't want to have some piece of stick going through it. It just doesn't want it. So I prefer to inject later in the day when my muscles are warm, my muscles are loose, maybe after a hot shower, after a workout. Those are the perfect times for me. That's when my muscles are kind of more chill, more relaxed, and more accepting of getting poked. But in the morning, I'm good. I don't want to do it in the morning. So I'm not really sure. Why don't you talk about this, Rick? Because you have had anxiety issues. Is this true? If you inject in the morning, it's better for anxiety?
I haven't seen any relation to any of that, to be quite honest with you. I don't really remember my shots ever really affecting my anxiety at all, man, to be real with you. Maybe some guys, you could get a bit of an adrenaline rush shooting and later in the afternoon, and it could mess with your sleep a little bit. Maybe give you a big jolt of adrenaline too close to bedtime, and then you carry that on into thoughts and things, and you have one of those sleepless nights where you can't unwind your brain. I could maybe see something like that happening, but I've never really had it happen to me. Maybe I don't have an adrenaline jolt when I inject anymore. Maybe to me it's just, as they say, another day at the office. It's like whatever. But I can see your first couple of years prepping your shot, the needle, maybe a little blood squirts right out of the injection when you pull out, and you're sitting there cleaning blood in the bathroom in the middle of the night. So you're partner doesn't say anything, right? I could see how that could jolt you up a little bit and ruin your night of sleep, give you some anxiety. But I don't know. I guess maybe at this point I don't experience that anymore, so I wouldn't know. I get my shot ready, go into shower, and as soon as I'm coming out of the shower, when I just rinsed and scrubbed my body, put on a little bit of alcohol still anyway, and then do my shot, and I go on with my day. And it could be on one of my 2 showers. I take one in the morning, I take one in the afternoon, at nighttime usually. So it'll be either one of those. Sometimes I'll do it right before my nighttime shower. It makes no difference for me at this point, but I could see how a new jack, the build up to the shot, looking at the needle, that's give you a nice little adrenaline jolt that you can then translate into a whole sleepless night.
You like to get scrubbed down in the shower?
That's actually lovely. I definitely I love showering with someone to scrub me down for sure, buddy.
Next up, we're going to talk about. I look at the end of the day, if I lived in the cold climate, I would be like, bats would be awesome. Like getting a nice bath, with some relaxation and stuff. But nobody takes baths. If you live in a hot climate, nobody fucking like. Do you see people in Jamaica or Cuba or Dominican Republic or something? You see them taking baths? No one takes baths. What people like to do in the tropics is like have an outdoor shower. You just go fucking take a cool outdoor shower, outside. That's what feels good when you're in a hot climate. So fuck no, hell no to a bath in a hot climate. I get more anxiety. You get out of the bath and you're like sweating bullets, All right. So next one we're going to talk about is this guy's saying no matter what steroids he runs, he has low appetite on cycle. So one of the possibilities that's happening here for this guy, to be honest with you, is your body's just not feeling good. Your body's sick inside. You're running these anabolic steroids and you feel sick. So when you feel sick inside, your body's sick inside, what's going to happen? It's very, very simple. You're not going to have an appetite. If you've got like a pet at home, a dog, cat, and they don't have an appetite, that's the first thing a vet's going to ask you when you take them in. How's their appetite? Because to the vet, if you say no, they haven't been eating good, that tells you that your animal is sick. Because animals in the wild, when they get sick, they don't eat. They naturally fast. And that gives their body the chance to kind of heal and recover itself and repair itself. You shut the digestive system down and, you let your body kind of cleanse itself. So when you're running these foreign compounds in your body doesn't have that ability to cleanse itself. So really what it's going to try to do, it's going to tell you, hey, stop feeding me. I'm not feeling well. I feel off, so your body's going to do what it has to do to make it feel, to heal itself. Right. But since you're slamming steroids, it's not going to have the ability to heal itself. So my solution to this, it's kind of complicated. It's a complicated solution, but my solution is don't go into cycle if you're not well. You got to run blood work. You got to run comprehensive blood work. You got to run your blood pressure. You've got to see, am I in top shape? I always, before I run a steroid cycle, I push myself leading up to that cycle, a month or two leading up to that cycle, push myself. I ramp up my cardio to get my heart health top shape. I do some fasting to make sure my organs are clean, my kidneys, my liver, make sure they're clean. Obviously you want to avoid alcohol. You want to avoid things, junky foods that stress out your body. You want to do that. Prepare yourself before a cycle. So if you're always losing appetite on cycle, don't just ignore that. That's a huge red flag. That's a huge red flag. That means that you're not healthy. And you probably should not be using steroids in the first place. So my advice may be a little different than Rick's, but my advice is come off your steroid cycle. If you really, really don't have appetite and it's a consistent thing, then you need to come off steroids. You need to figure out why your body is so stressed and sick that using anabolic steroids pushes you over the edge where you lose your appetite. You know what I'm saying? It means you're on the border of being healthy and sick. And then you go on steroids and that pushes you over the border. And now you're on the sick side of things. That shouldn't be the case. You should be very, very healthy, then go on steroids and sacrifice a little bit of your health where you're still healthy on steroids. But you cycle them smart, and then you come off and you give your body a chance to recover itself. You shouldn't be on the border of being unhealthy and healthy. You see what I'm saying? So listen to your body. This is just like the question earlier. You got to listen to your body more. Respect your body, guys. I mean, you got to respect your body a little bit here. I mean, but if it's like once in a while that you lose your appetite, here and there, I would run with that. If it's one of those situations, I will listen to your body and just eat less food, and see if eating less food kind of your body adjusts to it, and then you don't feel the same way, and then maybe your appetite goes up a little bit. So what do you think, Rick? Finish off the show with your final thoughts on this very, very interesting question.
Like Steve said, a low appetite could be signs of some toxicity and some problems that you might be experiencing from your steroid use. Also, your mood and the things going on around you can affect your appetite. Supplements you might be taking can affect your appetite. Lifestyle changes, things like that can affect your appetite. You can do it a couple ways, man. You could journal, read research, and figure out and pinpoint the exact reason why you could be having issues with your appetite while on the sauce. Or you could just throw some more drugs at the problem and go with something like MK677. Go with make sure to add equipoise in your cycles. Maybe partake in THC, which is also a huge way to increase appetite. So got a couple ways to go about it. You could journal, and it's better to see it all when you write it down. Figure out what could be causing your appetite. You look at 2 or 3 factors that could be causing issues with the appetite. Google the fuck out of it. Consult with people that know their stuff if you have access to them, and figure out what it could be. Tweak lifestyle changes. See if that helps. That's the first way to go about it. Or you could just throw drugs at the problem. I just mentioned three good ones. THC maybe being the one that opens up most people's appetite the most. And obviously equipoise being the milder of all of them. I don't think you're going to see a huge appetite increase on equipoise after your first shot. It might take a couple of weeks to build up, and it might take some time. And definitely MK677 is pretty decent, pretty good for appetite right away. So both ways to go about it, man. Journal, examine, research, process of elimination, experimenting yourself, figure it out, or you could throw more drugs at the problem. That's it.
All right, so great questions, guys. Keep them coming, guys and gals. Episode 463 in the books, Q&A. Talk to you next week.
Have a good one, Steve. Have a good one, guys.
Guys, this is the required legal disclaimer. We are only sharing our experience from years of steroid use. We are not doctors, and none of what we say should be regarded as medical advice. Always check with your doctor before taking any drugs or starting any training program.